And play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Let me jump right into it. I heard an interesting discussion this morning on Max, Keyshawn, and Jay Will on ESPN Radio, and they had Monica McNutt on. I think Chris Candy is in for maybe Keyshawn, but Max was really kind of pushing it out there that he needs to see. In looking at Steph as a top 10 all-time NBA player, Steph Curry as a top 10 all-time NBA player, he's saying that he can't put him in that discussion because he really hasn't seen a Steph Curry-led championship team. And McNutt, Jay Will, Chris Canty were all pushing back against him and rejecting that thinking. And it was just a good got into if Steph Curry isn't the best player on the court in this series against the Memphis Grizzlies, then can they win the series? If Ja Morant outplays him and is the best player in the series, does that make it impossible for Golden State to win? I've been saying this for a while. As much as I enjoy the Golden State Warriors and have enjoyed watching the whole last 10 years or whatever it is with them at the top, that's one of the few teams in the NBA that I watch. But what kind of makes Steph Curry great is kind of the antithesis of the alpha or true elite players. And a lot of these guys have gotten themselves in trouble and derailed their careers trying to align themselves with other superstars in the system. The ball has to run through them. They got to be the best player on the team. That's kind of the main way to do it. But with Curry, it doesn't really have to work that way. And that's because he's been so effective as a shooter and playing so efficiently. And then he had to cut the 3 or 4 years where he was just elite, just super elite. But the thing is this. No, not many other teams would have welcomed in another elite player and just completely deferred to that elite player, let him take all the big time shots and just move over to the side. Michael Jordan wouldn't do that, wouldn't have done that. LeBron James will not do that. Kobe would have never done that. None of these other guys would do this. Kevin Durant would not do that. He would not defer to a superstar who got added to the main team. But that's just how Steph Curry has operated. Even the other night in that game, and to start the game against the game 2 against the Memphis Grizzlies, they went 0 for like 6. They were down 8-0 or 9-0. Memphis came out and got some baskets early. And even being down 8 or 9 in an important playoff game, the other guys not being able to throw it in the ocean at that moment, a couple of turnovers, there was still no rush for Steph to come down and get a shot. There was no like inbound the ball to him, let him come up the court and shoot it. He just went in, the other dudes kept playing. I don't even think he touched the ball. I don't even think he was the first one to score when they did finally start scoring. I think he did come in and hit a 3 or a mid-range shot or something after they started scoring. But he just doesn't have to have the ball. The other thing that's been dope about the Golden State Warriors, and I saw it online for a while, it was the constant cry from the public that Klay Thompson needed to go somewhere and prove that he was the man, and prove that he could win a championship. Like, he didn't have to be the other Splash Brother. Like, he could be the main guy. And I was just like, I kept arguing, like, what good does that do? Where did we get here with all of this? Why can't you just be part of a great team and an excellent system and a good coach, good coaching staff, and a good organization? So I just think that's been part of their thing, that the egos don't seem to be all that difficult to manage. And when you got two shooters like Klay and Steph, and you get the right pieces in there, these guys are willing to accept whatever and be moved around and do unusual things and whatnot. It's all work for them. I just think, though, to Max's point, I don't know where I don't really have to even get into discussion about what Steph is in terms of where he falls as an all-time player, an all 75 or whatever. That's really not an argument for me. He does have a top 5 all-time playoff career average points per game or points per game. I think it's at 26 or something. That's one of the top 5, top 6. But Steph Curry just really has not, despite that high points per game, no finals MVP. We all know that. Iguodala got 1, and then 2 for KD. So that's, I guess people want to hold that against him. But let's go back to last year, though. Nobody's really brought this up. More so to Max's point, Steph Curry was the lone option last year, and they lost back-to-back play-in games with it being his team. Like, he has just not been able to deliver in the postseason. And like I said, I'm not trying to I'm a huge Steph fan. Love to watch Steph play. But no, he hasn't been able to get it done as the number one option. He just hasn't. His carelessness with the ball in the playoffs just baffles me. He does a lot of weird passes, a lot of carefree handling of the ball in key situations or critical situations. I don't understand why it never gets addressed. He does a lot of one-handed passes and no-look stuff at weird times. I don't get it. But we would kill a Russell Westbrook for it, and it hurts his teams. But again, when you factor in Steph's efficient shooting, it kind of overshadows that. We all know, he can be hit and miss defensively. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't have any knocks against Curry. I think more so than his play, I think what's hurting the team at this point is Draymond Green has, whereas Draymond Green could come out and get you 20 plus points in the playoffs, he's become so diminished as a scorer at this point, that's a problem. I don't think they play team defense the way that they played it a few years ago. I think that's why Ja was able to have the last 12 or 15 points of the game in game 2 and get that victory. They're just not, Draymond as a guarding centers and guarding all 5 positions. I don't know. It's a different league right now. That's not gonna get it. So the team isn't there defensively. They don't really have that. They no longer have that original or the OG death lineup. It's a team that's just they've undergone some changes. Some key personnel aren't there. So, can they win this series against the Grizzlies? I think so. I just go back to the first series, with the Grizzlies against Minnesota. The Grizz mainly won that game by walking Minnesota down each game and coming back and winning in the fourth quarter. And I don't think they can play from behind for 40 minutes in all of these games against Golden State and beat them. But again, they got the young, hungry guy and the young, hungrier guy in Ja Morant. And if Morant can just continue to play hard, get some transition buckets, hit the floaters, and avoid bad turnovers and whatnot, they can make it a competitive series and get themselves a chance to win in the fourth quarter. But it's not going to be as easy as easy to repeat as it was against the Timberwolves. I wouldn't expect that to be the how it plays out. But again, man, I just think, I understand what Max was saying. It's a radio show, it's a sports talk show. You gotta, you gotta keep people tuned in. You need listeners, you need people calling in. You need the audio clips and the video clips to put up on Instagram, Twitter, social media, and make it all work. But at the end of the day, I think that's been a great feather in the cap of this unit, that they've been able to play together so well. Kind of positionless basketball. The ball doesn't always have to run through Steph and Clay. So Clay, is famously, has scored 50, 60 points and only dribbled the ball, 20 to 30 times or something. So it's just a unique situation. I actually did a podcast earlier this year. I had this brother on my It's Always Personal podcast, and one of the topics that we talked about was kind of the versatility of the Golden State Warriors, this plug and play, the interchangeability, how they've kind of been able to turn over the roster and add guys like Jordan Poole. Kuminga can come in and get some minutes, although right now he's really not physical enough to do the stuff that Draymond Green used to do with a higher level of athleticism. And the dude is 19 or 20 years old. But I think Kuminga might be a guy that's got to get some key minutes in here and be a difference maker with his athleticism and youth, because like I said, right now Looney is really not a big man, is not a difference making big man. They don't really have a rim protector. You put them in the mix to be able to win the chip because of the teams that aren't around. There's no LeBron James team. KD is gone. So you give them a chance of still being able to get this ring. But I think the margin of error just isn't there because they don't really have a rim protector. They don't really have the dude that can catch all the lobs, the rim runs. You don't have a guy that's killing the team on the offensive boards. So it's going to have to be from efficient shooting. Like I said, the defense is down, is no longer what it used to be, even from a team defense perspective. They're gonna have to put in some work if they're able to pull it off. It's definitely no gentleman sweeps coming or no sweeps coming. They're just not constructed like that right now. But like I said, man, it was an interesting conversation. I don't think that the other three were in agreement with Max Kellerman and what he was trying to, and even Max Kellerman to a degree, you could tell he was just doing it for the radio show. playing devil's advocate, like who dislikes Steph really? Not too many people in the sports world or media really don't like Wardell. He's one of the more universally liked figures in sports, period. So they just had the conversation, but like I said, that's gonna be the different. That's gonna be the argument against Steph and getting into some of those all-time greatest conversations is how he won his championships. And for some people, being an integral part of a starting five and like I said, averaging this 26 points a game is not going to be enough for some media people and some critics, just because we're not used to that. That's just not usually how it works. You need a guy out here, factoring into 85%, 90% of all the scoring, damn near averaging a triple-double. That's what people kind of respect. But here with Steph, he just really doesn't have to do that because of the organization that he's been with. And like I said, some of these guys, if we look, with three of them in Kawhi Leonard, with LeBron, with KD 2 or 3 years ago, all of them went and got into the best situation that the situation that they wanted to be in. Kawhi with the Clippers, LeBron with the Lakers, KD with Kyrie and the Nets. None of them are even in the playoffs at this point. None of them. And they tried to force the hand and take control and be the player GM. They've all tried it. And they all sitting at home, and some of them aren't in shit. I don't even think all three of them aren't even in great situations with roster wise and whatnot. So Steph Curry doing it his way, with the staying with the organization, like it was never any question for him to leave the organization. But again, I think it's also been well documented or discussed on a number of places, like when it was time for him to go into his second deal, the questions around his ankle and long-term health and everything, he really might, and maybe things hadn't taken off with the unanimous MVP Steph. But maybe, when he came up for that second deal or that extension, he just wasn't in a position to command that supermax type situation that allowed them to do things. It's been awesome timing for that organization. Like I said, to have Clay and Draymond Green out all, 2 years, and to be able to draft a Kuminga. They got another kid on the bench that I think could play some, that really hasn't even been getting in the game because of how deep they are at this point. But to have a Kuminga, to draft a Jordan Poole, and Poole come in and be averaging as much as the Splash Brothers, even went for 30 in one game and whatnot, and is really becoming he's now doing somewhat of what KD was doing, where he gets a lot of the early shot attempts where they really looking for him to get shots off, and then Clay and Steph just do their little thing on the side, allowing him to become the focal point of the defense, and then they can start getting open and knocking down shots. So just very good timing for the organization. Like I said, one of my favorite situations in sports to watch. And if we want to sit here when it's all said and done and say that Steph isn't this and Steph isn't that, just because he didn't do it the way the typical elite NBA guy would do it, I mean, you can make that argument, but it doesn't hold a lot of water, in my opinion. And I think, I think Steph has went out here and really he's done it his way, and I'm good with that. And you could just like Jay said, all of this GOAT talk, top 2, top 3, number 1, greatest of all time. That's just for people like, that's just for people in front of cameras and mics to sit around and argue about. But his career is gonna speak for itself. You know, he's definitely one of the guys that throughout the course of the NBA, the history of the NBA, who's gonna be responsible for ushering in or revolutionizing the game in some way. And I think right now, you know, I don't know if anybody's really changed it in a significant way since, you know, what him and his shooting have done. I don't think there's anybody, you know, there's a new dude who's really, you know, revolutionized the game. So the NBA still is kind of a reflection right now of the changes that Steph Curry's play really brought about. I mean, you know, a guy like Tatum, he might be, I don't know, that might be the wrong name to bring up. But Anthony Edwards, you know, some of these guys might have a chance to put some new spin on NBA play. But yeah, I just thought it was, you know, it made for good radio earlier. And like I said, Max, you know, Max, that's kind of why Max is no longer on, you know, First Take. He's not out here really tearing down athletes and really being overly critical of guys. He was just kind of playing around with a topic that when it is all said and done, you know, we're gonna sit here and it's gonna be an interesting discussion on where Steph falls with the top 10. Probably not gonna be in that top 5 discussion, but like I said, it's gonna go down with one of the best careers that you could have as an NBA player. Can't argue that. Anyway, I have reached my destination. Let me get out of here. I got to skip my lunch today, and that's why I'm doing the afternoon wood now. Hey, enjoy your weekend, and I'll holler at you. Peace.